Hi guys, and welcome back to PJ Maybe's Wednesday. We still need to give this a thing Wednesday something, but it's a movie review of a nice 1999 movie, which to me, the first time I'd seen it, I thought I had seen it before, and when I was watching it, I realised I hadn't, and I was pleasantly surprised.
I am very guilty of this one, but I have been a fan of the existence of this kind of storyline much longer since before the film was released.
Yeah, I'd heard about it. I'd heard about the game back in the day, but I'd never played it. I was never one for that type of game. I was more of a turn-based UFO, XCOM type games or first-person shoot 'em up. I enjoyed those, so I was never really into the space battle games where you built fleets and stuff like that. Although XCOM, technically, one of them is like that. But
I will give a slight distinction in case we have any very nerdy people in the chat, which I know we do. Is the game you're describing there, PJ, is the 4X. So it's not technically the space flying or the like air-to-air combat. You have a ship, you're controlling an entire fleet. The wing commander was you're the pilot of one of these ships.
XCOM, you had XCOM Enemy Unknown, and then you had
which is one of my favorite genres.
I had the second. No, sorry, the first one was UFO Enemy Unknown. The second was XCOM Terror from the Deep. The third one was XCOM Apocalypse, and I think the fourth one is the one I was talking about, XCOM Interceptor, where you're in charge of space stations and you were an interceptor, so you basically did a first-person shoot 'em up, and I was rubbish at that one. The other ones I could play because they were actually, you were building your bases and you were arming your troops and you were dealing with them one-to-one, but once it came to actually flying, nope, couldn't do it, rubbish, bye.
I know it will be a slight sideline before we get back to the game, but I love the XCOM series in terms of like that turn-based strategic. You're placing your soldiers, they're moving their soldiers, and you have that fog of war, so you don't know really where they are until you really get in to almost too close of a distance, so you're in too much danger, but you can't really recall your step. It's kind of like chess. Yeah, those are the ones.
Yeah.
So
that's XCOM Interceptor. You can see the ship, and that's XCOM Apocalypse. Yeah. But basically, the Interceptor was the one I was just rubbish at. So I was. So I just couldn't actually fly to save myself. No hand-eye coordination with that type of thing. But I must admit, considering I've seen some movies that are based on computer games, the one prior to this that I really enjoyed was Doom, the one with the rock in it.
Yep.
Because I used to play Doom a lot when I was, I would say younger, but that's basically as implying as if I was a kid. I was in my 20s when I was playing Doom.
I have a vague recollection of Doom, but I can't remember if I played it. I don't think I did, but I do remember it.
Yeah. Well, we used to play it. We used to play it in college, basically 3 floors, 2 people in each room, in each floor, and they would team up against each other. So it was 2-man teams. And that was fun. So I quite enjoyed it. I must admit, I enjoyed the Doom game, but I really enjoyed the Doom movie. But this one I hadn't even seen, and I was pleasantly surprised. It was just fun. Fun. And I think even with the niggles on it, I still think it was still definitely worth it. So it was.
Well, I'm not speaking for you guys, but when it comes to the amount of times we've had a video game made into a film, they've so often been disappointing. But I'm counting Wing Commander as one of those. This is a perfect adaptation, but they did have a really solid material to stand on already, because they were one of the first games that actually came out with live action sequence with proper Hollywood actors within the game. The only other game that was competing at the same time, and people again probably going to correct me, it's Red Alert. Because Red Alert had these cut sequence. You did your strategic battle missions and everything, and it was cut sequence. But it was not only famous Hollywood actors, it was professional Hollywood scoring in the backgrounds, like proper music, soundtrack, the whole thing. So they really upped it. Unfortunately, it was a genre that kind of died off a little bit in the late 90s, early 2000s. Yes, they still put the production value in, but they have stopped relying on like famous actors. Like,
well, I think it started actually outpricing themselves for things like that, because it was the same as you. At one point, you would have a movie actor in a TV show, and then it was a case of, oh, it's not seen to. I'm a movie actor. I'm not a TV actor, so they would take the step away, and then it's come back round again, where you would get movie actors in parts in a TV show, and nobody would blink an eye at.
Yeah, they actually take the mickey out of that in Friends when they use Gary Oldman and Matt LeBlanc, and he's on the set and they do like the method acting, but they literally just like spitting each other all the time. It's actually quite funny, but it is that like highbrow, lowbrow, whatever they want to call it, like, because Hollywood for the longest time see like, oh, you're just a TV show actor, or you're a film actor. We don't mix.
Yeah, but it's nice to see some, like, for instance, the actors in this, I must admit, was surprising. Pardon me, surprising the quality of some of the actors. And hi, Archer, and thanks for joining us. But yeah, I mean, some of the names in this, right? Obviously, you've got Freddie Prinze Jr. and you've got Shaggy, which, yes, I keep forgetting his name, but
Matthew Lillard.
Lillard. I said it earlier, but I as soon as I remember it, all I keep thinking is the guy who played Shaggy.
Yes, that's how I know him. Bless him.
Exactly.
Matthew, is it Lillard? Matthew Lillard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just looked him up on the wiki page. He's a very recognizable actor.
Yes.
And he's one of those actors you go, oh, I know who that is, but I can't think of his name.
Exactly. But I will say, you look at the other names in it as well. But I mean, you've got David Suchet, Jürgen. I've got it somewhere.
Prochnow,
who played Chief Judge Silver in Sylvester Stallone's Dredd.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
but he's also from U-Boat.
Das Boot.
Yeah, I've got that.
It says he was also in Dune, 1984's Dune.
That's true. He would have been. The one I liked, I must admit, she's not a big famous actress, and I don't know why, because she's absolutely fantastic, is Jenny Holder, who played Rosie Forbes.
Yes.
Rosie is my favorite character.
She is definitely one of my favorite. Because she's been in Death in Paradise. I know she did a wee part in Blake 7, and she's done bits and pieces as well. Basically TV shows, like, was it Holby City or something like that?
Holby City she was in. Ginny Holder, her name is.
Yeah, she is really good. And in this, she was, there you go, a movie from 1999 who had A, strong women, and B, women in command. Because there was what's it?
Saffron Burrows.
Yeah, Saffron Burrows, she played Angel. And she was the wing commander. Mm-hmm. And then you had Rosie, who was, in effect, the best pilot there. That was the one thing that annoyed me.
I would say Todd Maniac Marshall might have slightly disagreed with that.
The fact is, you've got someone just out of the academy and acting as if I'm the best just because I was the best in my class in the academy.
But that
was one
is
thing that annoyed
coming
me.
from all the games, because you are the rookie coming in. Tom
Yes.
Marshall is already an established wing commander or wing fighter, and he's top of the ranking board. He has the most kills, he has everything, and the game mechanics basically you just need to be better than him.
Yes.
But all the cutscenes is him just going like, "Oh, you're nothing. Go away."
Yes, but the fact is, that was the one thing that took me out for his character, was coming in and just telling everybody he's the best, and then having to prove it when you've got people who are in combat, so they have to be really good to be surviving. And against vastly outnumbered, but a lot of the times they were in fight. And he just comes out of the academy saying, "I'm the best and I'm better than everybody." And you're sitting there thinking, that's definitely a way for everybody to dislike him.
Yes, but that is coming from the games as well.
Yes,
Well,
I can understand it from the game, but you'd think they would have actually toned it down a wee bit for that. Yes, you could understand that maybe been there for a wee while.
This is probably my bias. It's that I know the games so well, the background story and everything. It's yes, he's kind of Dunning-Kruger. He thinks he's like the superior, and he has to have that like crashing curve. It's like, okay, I'm not really as good as I think I am, but rather than just like crashing right into the ground, it's like he's getting an arc to like recover. But he has to face a lot of diversity to really reach that place. And this is where I don't think there is anyone else but the Rosie character in the film version that could have done the needed motivation for his recovery arc.
Yeah. It's just a shame they had to kill her off for that. And I must admit, when he was out hot dogging it, as the fact that the two of them started getting out and getting ordered to come back, considering the stakes, I was thinking, yeah, no, because anybody in that type of thing, we would know not to.
But they are like young puppies in love.
Yes.
Yes, they are young puppies in love. They had the need to like prove. Todd sees her. He knows she's way better than he is. So he has that drive, and she recognized that he is good. He just needs a little bit more. But she obviously bites too much on like all the baits he's giving out to try and do that challenge.
Yes, but there was just wee bits. These are the wee parts that, although they were annoying, they weren't annoying enough to actually stop the movie being good. Like, for instance, him coming out and saying how great he is and stuff like that when he's just out of the academy, and then yes, you can see he's just that cocky. You can imagine him getting into the relationship with someone who's just out to prove that she is the best, no matter what he says. But she has got a bit of common sense as well as the skills to do the job. And then it's him just trying to show off that causes her death. I can see that was really good. However, the fact that the two of them went off after being ordered to come back, especially in deep space, because if that ship gone, they were left, that was it, they were dead. There was no way they would be able to get back, because although they implied certain things within it, but those ships had the jump capability. So for small fighters, because they remember this when they were fighting against the Dothraki. Is it Dothraki, or am I actually thinking a different thing? That's Game of Thrones.
No, that's Game of Thrones.
Kilrathi. Kilrathi. It's a Dothraki. Maybe I was getting a Jason Momoa actually going to come in and attack us. But the Kilrathi, when they popped up and they started shooting at it, and the captain says they know that they wouldn't be there without a capital ship, which is implying that those were light planes. It was almost a mix of submarine and aircraft carriers in space. the way they were doing it. But they were implying that they're like planes. You wouldn't actually be in the middle of the sea, see planes flying around and think, I wonder where they came from. Did they fly from land? Because they would know they would have to be within a certain radius aircraft carriers because of the distance they wouldn't be able to fly. That's what it implied. And then they send 2 of them to go through a jump gate. So how could they be assumed that they were sitting there to jump up and do the attack on them? And he's saying that they know there would be a carrier in relation to them, and then
that's where it bakes in the magic of the pilgrims, because not everyone can jump a quasar.
No. Just a jump gate and a jump and because they've got Merlin on their ships who does the calculations. So that's what I mean. He does the manually. So because he's going through the quasar, the Merlin can't handle it. But in general, they could do jumps through it a different way without having to go through ones that can't be dealt with Merlin. It's just the fact that in the movie they turn around and say the Kilrathi know there has to be a carrier ship there because of those 2 ships, and then they imply that those ships can jump, so they don't technically need to be a carrier there for them. You see what I mean? It's just that wee bit. That's the parts where I thought it was almost written a bit quick. They were actually wanting people to enjoy it without actually thinking about it. So doing that, I must admit, the first time I watched it, just sat back and enjoyed it. Second part time, as I always do, I think about things when they do it. And that was one wee thing that it didn't make sense. You can't have both making sense. One has to be
apologies if I'm getting a little bit of feedback here. Fortunately, my headset died because I've been working literally since 7 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
But
well,
the thing you're describing, they do have an intended purpose. It wouldn't be Merlin fighters in hiding in an asteroid belt, because if they had the jump capability, they would just be reconning, and if they discover something, they would just go jump, bye, we're gone.
Yes, but they still have to have jump points. That's what they not a jump gate, but because they had to go certain places, they couldn't just jump in. Because if they could just jump in, then all the bit about navigating to the nearest point, and all that wouldn't have made any difference. Because if they could just jump, then they wouldn't have need to go through the quasar to make it easier, because they would have just jumped. You see what I mean? So they implied that there were certain places that could do the jump. So the fact is, there is a roadmap around the systems that they could jump, but the fact that those small fighters could jump negates the fact that they needed a carrier.
It's probably coming more from knowing the video games rather than the film, but you cannot jump from all quasars or all black holes. You can only jump from a few of them, and they only slingshot you so far. This is why it's taking the human fleet, because of their position in space, longer to get to Earth space than it takes the Kilrathi to get to Earth space. Because they have a better position in terms of the places you can actually jump.
Yes, they've got a better location, but they also needed the Pegasus Navcom computer to get the coordinates to jump to. So it's just that wee bits like that. Like, for instance, it'd be like, I'm trying to think, there's been other things like that, like you need this to do this, but they do it anyway, even though they don't have that part. And that was the wee part that stuck out. The hot dogging by Maniac, the over confidence by Maniac were a bit annoying, but nothing too much. You could see why they did it, because they wanted the tension and stuff like that. So all that, the hot dogging and stuff like that. The fact that they killed off the best character in the movie
But it's very good for an emotional scene. But I will give this, and unfortunately, to spoiler to the games, it's in the games, you hated Todd Maniac Marshall. He was the least likable character. It was literally like.
Well, it worked in the movie. He was the least likable character.
Article when you got the physical copies every month, that people actually stopped playing the games because they hated that character so much because he was so egotistic, so over the top, so like mean and horrible and a bully and absolutely everything. But he was good. He was a really, really good.
But see, the thing is, see if Rosie and Maniac were on the ship when Freddie Prinze Jr. was Blair. When Blair arrived, it wouldn't have been angry because he's a guy out in the front line. So having that arrogance, I'm the best, wouldn't have been an issue. It was the fact is there's somebody just out of the academy. Because he was the best at the academy, he thinks he's the best ever in anything. That was so annoying. And yes, I can understand why he was disliked in the game, because he is disliked in this. I think he's the most annoying character. And I didn't feel sorry for him when he killed. When he got Rosie killed, and his emotion and stuff like that. No, I just felt really annoyed that he got Rosie killed.
I'm going to say I do wish we had seen more of Rosie. I understand why that scene had to play out the way it did. It had pathos and it had that emotional punch that was needed about that time. But I agree with PJ. You know, she was such a great character. It was just a shame that we didn't get to see her more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a
little bit of, shall we say, not more likability, but gives depth to his badness, so to speak. Is that the first time he has ever faced something not going his way is when Rosie dies, and he knows he caused it. It wasn't her fault. It was him.
That's his character's turning point.
Yeah, but I even at that, I don't even think it was a turning point, because yes, he lost his confidence but all the Angel had to say was, "We need our best pilots." That's not a suggestion; it's an order.
Yeah.
And no. Angel is lying to his face. He isn't.
Oh yeah, but the fact is, Angel didn't want to do it, but they needed people out there. So, but still in play, and then he seems to be fine with it. Yeah. And he's out there, and it's that part that character I didn't like.
What I found was that it may have been something to do with the editing. Perhaps they had to economize on some of the scenes, because it did feel like some of the scenes probably had more to them, and they were sort of edited down, maybe, and that's why we felt a bit shortchanged on some of those scenes. Because again, like you say, Peach, I was sort of expecting quite an emotional sort of
journey.
Especially when the wing commander goes back to Maniac's room and she's going to give him a pep talk to get him back out of his depression. As you said, that scene went quite quickly, but perhaps I'd be interested to know if that was an editing.
If you get hold of the special edition DVDs, there are like cut out scenes.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Special edition, just to see bits and pieces. Archer was just saying that this came out a couple of years after Space Above and Beyond was cancelled, and to me, Space Above and Beyond, I suppose, had a very similar feel. It didn't. It had a lot of differences, obviously. Like, for instance, the characters, because they could build up the characters, or they could actually tear down the characters, ones that felt cocky and stuff like that. So they could do that a lot over a longer period rather than it just happening. However, I think the special effects in this were as good as Space Above and Beyond. And I think it's because they tried to be... It didn't work, but they tried to be more realistic. like for instance, in Space Above and Beyond, you've got the Hammerheads. The ships were quite good. They look great, and it's all the aerodynamic fighting between the ships and stuff like that, rather than a Star Fury from Babylon 5 fighting in 3 dimensions and stuff like that. It was good in that respect, and I think the ships they had, the broadswords, were really good, and I liked the fact that they all had sword or like a rapier, a broadsword, and so the broadsword were the torpedo ships, sorry, and the rapiers were the fighters. So they were in the rapiers, but I liked the idea that they were calling them all after weapons, which was good. But I thought the CGI was really good. And
it's
even
because a lot of the CGI, and this I only learned because I was out having fun with people that actually worked on the film back in the day, and a lot of it was more practical effect with good lighting on literally like, it wasn't a green screen even, it was literally just like black canvas, so they could like move the camera around and make it look like it was moving. But the ships they're sitting in, they didn't just build like a cockpit and then it's like, oh, we're zooming in very close. It was a full-on model of how the ship would have looked like if it was real. It wasn't like just like a seat and like a frame and it looks like you're sitting in a cockpit. They actually sat in proper big built models.
Yeah. But and I liked the idea that they were doing it. It was almost like submarines with a cross between an aircraft carrier. But things within that, on second viewing, obviously, a lot of the times I say this niggled me is usually on second viewings. On first viewings, I can tell you all the stuff I really enjoyed. But like for instance, when the rapiers are going out, they're going out, and then at the end of the ramp, they drop and then come up. That's what happens in an aircraft carrier, but in space it wouldn't. They would just go.
I'm forgiving that 100%.
That's what I'm saying.
When the film was made.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, those are wee niggly parts. But the things like they were using it like submarines, which was great. They were hiding. They were just getting depth charged, or they were basically silent and run. They went to stealth, and it was literally just cut down all the electronics, just so it wasn't given it.
That was cool. I did like that.
And then even the things like give them a broadside. It was a more. See, I played Warhammer Games Workshop games, and they had one called Battlefleet Gothic, and that was all about firing missiles and stuff like that. And I liked that rather than them just firing a load of plasma weapons and lasers, like a lot of the sci-fi of the day. Whereas this one, missiles and stuff like that, and rockets.
That I quite liked the scene where they, I won't say too many details, but where they sort of come alongside them and they fire those missiles into the side of the ship.
Broadside. It
made me think of a pirate, you know,
yes.
like a pirate ship on the high seas. So there was a lot of romantic sort of throwbacks to various different things. I did detect a lot of different films in this, a bit of Star Wars, like Luke's journey, where he needs to find this mysterious sort of, in Blair's case, this genetic skill that he has, where Luke has to sort of reach inside of himself and discover the force within him, and it was trying to sort of make those connections, and I think it pulled from a few different things.
Yeah, there was,
but quite successfully.
They did, and the good thing is they drew from the Navy. So you had aircraft carriers, you had submarines, you had old-time battleships. So you didn't have like the capital battleships when you had aircraft carriers and submarines. You had the old broadside. Give them a broadside because it was thingy. So they had the old naval. The old wooden naval ships type thing that within there with the broadside. They had the aircraft carriers. I liked that they were combining them all because in space there was a bit of everything. And I liked the fact that they weren't just all firing laser guns here, there, and everywhere.
But it isn't actually laser guns. If you think of the rapiers, when they shoot, it's a machine gun.
Of course it is, and you can hear it. But what I'm saying is, you saw even when the Kilrathi were firing, basically they were just firing, and that could have easily been gauze cannons just firing lumps of metal, and it's just because you're seeing the light. It's not unnecessary laser cannons. Could be just projectile weapons that they're firing. So, and you would see the light because of the heat they were generating as they were fired. So even when it looked like laser cannons, because you've got the rapiers firing and you can hear the tat, which you wouldn't hear obviously because it's in space, but you can still hear it. Then
you would hear it in the cockpit, not outside the cockpit.
But when you're outside, there's sometimes when they're outside and you hear them, but they needed that because yes, we know there's no sound in space, but they needed it because they had to actually give the atmosphere. So things like that don't bother me. I was just going to actually look at Archers. Yes, the storytelling. I was saying, I hated that part. I liked the part in this where the pilots were pilots. So they were out fighting, and when they weren't out flying, they were sitting in the room waiting to fly. It'd be like this Spitfire pilots during the Battle of Britain. Mm-hmm. Whereas in Space Above and Beyond, they had them on the ground a lot of the time, and I never understood that either.
The scene where the pilots are all sort of sitting around in the sort of cafeteria thing, reminded me a little bit of a cross between, again, the Top Gun scenes where the pilots are all behind the scenes kind of joking around with each other, and there's that standoff with Tom Cruise's character and the Iceman. It's been a while since I've seen Top Gun, but I know there's some like nose to nose standoffs between the two of them. And then it also reminded me a little bit of Battlestar Galactica, the remake, with in the room with all the pilots where Starbuck's there, and sorting them out, and it had that sort of a feel to it as well.
It definitely did. It had a lot, and I think I was reading the comments as well, so sorry. But I think the fact that the way it was actually brought together, it was one of those ones that no matter what, you can forgive the mistakes, but it brings it all you've got the pathos of the tragedy of the death. You've got the excitement of the battles. You've got what happened, who was Paladin, because you didn't know who he was, but he seemed to know a lot, and things like that. So they had a lot of things they were just bringing together. They sort of worked. I think it needed a trilogy would have been great for this, whereas they could have extended it and brought all that together. So yes, Rosie dying, but not right at the beginning, right at the third movie and stuff like that, or the second movie where you get Maniac coming out. I think they were
you think extend it. If that happened, I think Rosie would have become too much of a beloved character. And when the film came out, we didn't really kill off heroes or really loved characters. They got in trouble, but we didn't kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the thing is, if you killed Rosie off and you had got to know Maniac and Maniac's relationship with Rosie, then you would have seen him turning. So he wouldn't have been the hot dog. He would have been the excellent pilot, which had his head screwed on because he knows, and he would have been the ones telling all these new guys coming, this is what you do, because he's been there. And it would have actually, but the thing is, and then this, because they had to do it in a particular way, he went from the hot dog, killed somebody, and then went straight back to the hot dog, and still, I'm the best pilot. It's not bad for the second best pilot, and he's still saying that even at the end of the movie, when after he's gone through that tragedy, he's still going, I'm still the best pilot. Not bad for the second best. So he's still got that all in him, and you're sitting there thinking, The part where Rosie dies made no difference because you're still the same at the end.
I think you're reading too much into it, because at that point in time in the film, so not the video games, that point in time in the film, it's a joke that he's calling Blair second best pilot in the film.
I know, but that's
it isn't.
I understood that, but because of what happened, that joke falls flat. Because his going on about that and how that was what he was proving with Rosie, that joke suddenly becomes flat. It's not a joke anymore, because that's what caused him to cause her death, because he was too busy trying to prove it. And that's what I'm saying. So if you had even another movie or a TV show with that would have actually thingy, and then maybe later on he'll say, yeah, I'm the best pilot, however, don't try and prove it. Just go out and do your job, and if you're good, you're good. End of story. That's what I'm saying, is that because he was making a joke of it at the end, because of that joke falls flat. Because
it does very much. But if you think of another film that I also love, and I think it's in the same amazing sci-fi category as Wing Commander, it's Starship Troopers. In the Starship Troopers, you have Ace, who gets the opportunity to become a leader, but he faces it and he recognizes, I am not cut out for that position.
Yes.
It's the same here with Maniac. He gets a taste of, yes, you can move forward, but realizes this is not me. I cannot do that one. That's why he's so much relying on Blair. That's why he's best friends with Blair.
Yeah.
And why Blair tolerates him as well, because he knows he isn't that bad, even though he's annoying and frustrating and, oh God, you want to kill him sometimes, but he isn't that bad. He just happened to be a bit obnoxious, if you put it that way.
I would say a bit obnoxious. I would say complete and utterly obnoxious. But if you want a character to be obnoxious, you want a character to be obnoxious. It's the same as the first officer. What was his name? Gerard, Commander Paul Gerard. He was constantly, he's a pilgrim and you can't trust that. So you needed him there to be that, just to get that. Although it's
he's bringing in an interesting angle of, I would say it's racism.
Yeah, but you needed it to be, but it gets grating after a while, but you needed that just to actually say what they have to question these orders. Because if he came in, handed them the orders, and they took it and goes, fine, no problem. But he's questioning the orders, where they came from. He's basically saying, because who he is, we shouldn't trust it. Not a case of anything else. It's because of who he is. We don't trust it. It gets a bit grating, and he just keeps on. Like, for instance, they've probably just bugged off, and this is a trap, and I wonder how you got the trap. Maybe he gave it. Oh, here he's back again. Isn't he great? And you're sitting there thinking, really? He just actually says he led him into a trap, or he thinks he probably led him into a trap, and then because he comes round the back and attacks, he suddenly that's forgotten, and he's great, and you're sitting there thinking, is this guy for real? Because
I never buy it. He's begrudgingly acknowledging that Blair did a good thing.
No, it wasn't Blair. It was the other one. It was Paladin. It was Paladin he was going on about. It was Paladin who led them in. So because although he didn't call him Paladin, it was James Taggart. So it was Taggart. It led them into it because, and then when Taggart's come round the other, and they're excellent. They've come back, and you're sitting there thinking, he's literally just flipped on a dime on that one bit. But there's nothing said about it. Maybe you trust him.
And sorry, spoiler alert, Taggart is a pilgrim. He never gets to know that Taggart is a pilgrim.
Yes. But that's the thing, that the fact that you don't know until halfway through the movie. But the fact is, he didn't know it, but it was just the fact is the way he was acting. it wasn't a case of, and then he came back and says, I got them all wrong. It just goes to show, or something like that. Something a case of, well, there you go. It just goes to show how wrong I am. Even if it was a wee off the cuff, nothing major, nothing else was said about it. But there was absolutely no acknowledgement. He went from being, he's led us into a trap. Oh, he saved us. Hey.
Well, I see where you're going with that, but let me bring you around to another awesome capital spaceships TV show, Battlestar Galactica.
Yes.
I haven't seen too much of the
Battlestar Galactica, or are you talking about the classic Battlestar Galactica?
So the classic is the one I love, which is why the new one resonated quite well with me. But the new one resonated quite well with me because you get a lot more of those intimate shots in the command and control center.
Yes.
And you have these two really aging old men constantly locking horns, not disrespecting each other, but they are old. They're set in their ways. They're set in exactly, this is how things need to be done. This is how I always done things. They are very not agile. They cannot move that easily from their mindset or the path or the decision they want to go down.
Yeah.
I see the same thing between David Warner, even though David Warner is like, he looks old, but feels like half the age he's supposed to be, because he's still young, agile, adaptable. He's open to new ideas, but that's probably why he's the Grand Commander of the fleet. But it is still that narrow mindset. This is how my life has been, 50 years plus. I don't care. I don't want to learn something new that, hey, I was wrong about something. So they're very stubborn old characters.
See, I can agree to you an extent, but as I absolutely dislike the new Battlestar Galactica, and I watched a wee bit and just switched it off, never watched any more of it, can't really comment.
Yeah. I was very off put by the original, by the remake for years, and I saw a few clips of it and things, and I just couldn't get into it. And then probably about a year ago, a couple of years ago now, we just thought, let's have a go, so we watched it and just fell in love with it. And that's quite a rarity for me, because I'm very fussy about, I don't like remakes anyway, but there have been a few over the years that really have been done very well. So I won't rule them out completely until if I feel like I'm going to give it a chance, I'll watch it. But I have to admit, I really did, as much as I love classic Battlestar Galactica, I don't think that the remake takes anything away from that. I think it adds to it. Now that I've seen it and really sort of fallen in love with it, but I'm always a classic BSG fan first.
Yeah.
But I have found that personally, that the remake has actually, got past my my sort of initial trepidation.
As the Mark II.
Finally.
Yeah, you should have that on full screen so people can see it, because that looks really nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's the Mark
Colonial
II.
Viper. Yeah.
I want the Mark I, so I do.
Yeah, I've always wanted one of those.
The Mark II, so it is.
It's everything about the classic, the music, the theme song, the Patrick McNee sort of dialogue, intro.
Oh, that's nice.
That's stunning. Really nice.
Is. And then one side it's got Apollo, and the other side it's got Starbuck.
Oh my
It's
God!
literally, so whatever side you want to put it at.
Oh, that's a bit of cheating. That's like 2 in 1.
It is. One of my friends did the painting for me, so it's and I had said to him I was looking for one. It was either or, and he goes, "How about this? Just do it, and then just put in one side put Starbuck, and the other side put the Apollo, so you can turn." I've still got. I want to get the Mark I, but I also want to get a Mark I Cylon fighter as well.
Oh yeah.
So he's looking out for them for me because he does the building and the painting.
Lovely.
So
one thing I like about the visuals in the new Battlestar Galactica. I know we're supposed to talk about Wing Commander. Trust me, we will get back to it. But it is the Knight Rider kind of red eye.
Yes. That was one of the...
because it kind of feels dangerous, even though you don't consider Kit in Knight Rider as evil or bad. But for the Cylons, it's definitely danger.
This was one of the things that really just totally put me right off the remake initially. When I found out what they had done to the Cylons, I was like, I am so out. I was never in because I love the classic Cylons so much with that cracking red eye, and and their voice, the voice modulation that they, I absolutely loved them, and I did sort of go back on my initial, trepidation, and I did watch it and I enjoyed it, the remake, but to me, those classic Cylons, like Jim was saying, that wonderful red tracking eye is so atmospheric when you see it. It works really well.
Yeah. See, the reason I didn't like the new one is too dark for me. I like my stuff light, fun.
Yes, that's fair enough. Yeah.
And that's where it goes, because anything that's quite nihilistic, and I want mine to have a bit of hope in it. And
yes,
when I watched it, it's almost a case of no, because even if they win, they're just going to lose, because that's what I'm saying. I like the Wheel of Time TV show. The Wheel of Time books. The TV stuff they're doing in Amazon, I'm hoping they cut some of the books out. And although I love the books, because there's certain parts of the books I dislike, because if you've got someone who walks in the light and you can't distinguish them from people who walk in the dark and the shadow, then to me they're no different. So why should I care? So if you've got the white cloaks and they're doing things that the dark friends would do, then they're indistinguishable. So you can't say you walk in the light and do all this and then expect people to believe you. So I dislike the Sean Shan and the white cloaks. I absolutely despise the Sean Shan.
You see, I'm with you. Although I'm one of those people that I like it's darkest just before dawn. I like that kind of hopelessness feeling. But for me, the Sean Chan was just there to show Aes Sedai is not the most powerful force on the earth. They have competition. Because the white cloaks are dangerous, but the Sean Chan are actually really dangerous.
Yeah, but the fact is, the white cloaks are the wannabes. The Sean Shan are, as you said, really dangerous. But when they are indistinguishable from a dark friend army, then no matter what, I cannot like them. If they're doing things that are evil, I don't care how good intentions. The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
You see, I don't consider dark friends. They beyond that level. Dark friends are aspiring to be as evil as the Forsaken, although they're not even close to that level of don't care if you die.
Yes, but what I'm saying is the Sean Shans think they're walking in the light. They're there to save everybody. But if they're doing things that are just as evil, then it makes zero difference. If you are getting taken over by dark friends or you're getting taken over by the Sean Shan, you've got zero difference. And that's it. That's what I dislike about the Sean Shan. There is zero difference. So might as well have the world come to an end, because why would you want to live in a place that you're going to die at any time just because somebody wants you to die, or because somebody gets annoyed at you just because you don't bow low enough, you're going to jump.
I know we're getting away from Wing Commander again, but I would say the only
Wing Commander is a similar idea. I think Wing Commander is light. See, the reason I like Wing Commander is because there is no middle ground. You've got the humans against the Kilrathi. Just two sides. They talked about, they tried to make a agreement so there wasn't a battle, and it all failed. So they're at war. End of story. It doesn't matter if they're good or they're good. You have to pick a side. So you've got the humans or the Kilrathi. There's no... They mention the pilgrims in here and there because the things that it's the pilgrims that are causing this problem or any bits of sabotage. But in effect, you don't see that. You're just told it. So if there was a pilgrim who maybe was working in the background and things were blown up or things would fail and you know it's been this guy doing it, at least they would have brought them in. But just saying it means really not a lot within the story. They're only doing it to give a bit of angst why these people dislike pilgrims, like Hunter and I forgot Gerard. You know why the two of them dislike pilgrims. End of story. They just dislike them, but they have to give you why.
The pilgrims are older than the conflict with the Kilrathi.
Yeah, but the pilgrims, they mentioned that the pilgrims, any problems with the sabotage during the war was due to pilgrims, so they're still around. So,
but there are two wars. The Pilgrim Wars was a lot longer before they even met the Kilrathi.
Yes, but the fact is, so there's people who
current tension is like, oh, this is what we have to focus on, but we do have this historical baggage with the Pilgrims.
Yes, but the fact is they just bring it in, so they just mention it just to give these two the reason why they dislike the pilgrims. That was it. To me, they just brought it in, but in effect, that didn't really make a lot of difference because you were either rooting for the humans or you were rooting for the Kilrathi, which the Kilrathi are set up to be, no, they're just coming to destroy the human race. There's no really a reason. You don't know why anything. They're just coming to destroy the human race. So
that is where I think the film, and that's my biggest niggle with it, it's they did not go into the story of like space exploration. We're starting to expand with colonies being settled, etc. And suddenly it's like, oh, no, there's someone else here, and they kind of don't like mixing.
Yes, yeah, Space Above and Beyond, it was the same as against the Chigs. It's basically the same idea. Space Above and Beyond expanded on that because it was all about colonization. They colonized a planet that the Chigs were on, and it caused the war, and the Chigs had no interest in negotiating. It was just a case of fight because they've encroached in their grounds. Yes, but in Space Above and Beyond, they gave you a wee run up to it. Although there was a battle, there was the war from the very beginning. Because it was a TV show, they could go into it a wee bit more and things like that. Whereas this, they had to go straight into it, so they had to give you the exposition. Otherwise, half the movie would have been about leading up to the war, not the end of the war. They had to actually tell you they were at war and this is why they're at war. And this is going to be the end unless they manage to stop them.
So, sorry for spoiler alert, but the conclusion of the Wing Commander film is not the conclusion of the storyline.
Sorry,
it's a fail.
No, it is the conclusion of the movie storyline. Unless there was a second movie, it's the conclusion. We can't. I know other people keep saying it, but you can't actually mix that. So yes, if you're playing the games, then the games ones are what you're playing. If you're reading the books, but it's the same idea when I keep on saying about the Wheel of Time. There's certain things in the movie, in the TV show, they're going to be there. They are going to counter the books, and the books are going to counter the TV show. But the people who are writing it have got a set way, as long as they do that. But the problem is, never read any books for Wheel of Time, never played the game, so I can't comment on them. I can only comment on the movie, and the movie ends at that point. There is no further.
Yes. I really like the conclusion of the film, because I know we're getting a little bit too ahead because there is tons of stuff that we still haven't mentioned, but there are so many things I would like to see in other, shall we say, military ranking films and everything that we have today, Star Trek being one. It's David Warner's character. He has to make a strategic decision. Do we help or do we focus on the danger? Do we assist? Do we save some lives or do we jump into the fight?
And he has the gravitas to carry that.
Yeah, but that to me, his first officer, Richard, explained why he was wrong. You understand why he did it, but he still explained why he was wrong. Because if Blair hadn't got that ship trapped in that gravity well, the amount of damage one ship would have done. So them sending a ship after that one, well, the rest were still, they knew where they were coming through, but the fact that they left that one ship, so in effect, that one ship could have done so much damage to the planets. They're effectively turning around saying, well, as long as 7 billion don't die, we're okay with 5 billion dying. Do you see what I mean? That's the type of thing. That decision was a case of, well, it's going to do a lot of damage, which Richard told him he was going to do. He says, I know, we think we just get ready for attacking that. And it was almost a case of, but one's got through, so that one's going to do that much damage. I can understand why you don't want 2 to get through or 3, but you can't let 1 through. It's like the Babylon 5's line.
But that's the thing that I like about the decision there, because it's a realistic military decision. I know what's dangerous over there. However, I know from here, more danger will come. And I do not know what that danger is.
Yeah,
that
but the problem is, I think it's the
billion, but what comes through from there, just one of them may kill 15 billion.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that
danger.
decision, I think, in hindsight, is the reason I'm saying it's wrong is he didn't even send one capital ship after it. Because they knew how much damage one capital ship getting through would do. But they let 1 through. So, you know what I mean? They were actually focusing on that so no capital ships get through. But they let 1 get through. So it counters what they were there to stop. The fact that they let 1 capital ship just get through, no problem, don't stop it. Because we want to concentrate and make sure 1 doesn't get through. Well, 1 just got through.
It comes down to simple game theory.
But game theory
it is a gamble, but you have a danger you know and a danger you do not know.
No, but the game theory works, and only because in theory, if you can't actually turn around and say, no problem, as long as we save half the population there, just let that 1 through, and we'll just stop the rest to make sure. The game theory works to an extent, but military doctrine wouldn't be a case of it'd be like turning around in a tank battle during the Second World War. Right, there's 50. They're going to send an army through the Dordogne or the whatever. So get everything ready. But there's 14 tanks coming up that street. Doesn't matter. Just concentrate over there. That wouldn't happen. They would say, right, send.
I have a feeling this is going to be a very large topic, and I will love discussing this with you for hours on end. But I will give you this one just so we round it off and get back to more scenes of the film. Is, have you ever in Warhammer sacrificed a unit because you knew you were going to strike at the other unit so you would win the full game?
No, but I know what you're talking about, but no. I wouldn't actually just let one of my major units get destroyed just because. I might withdraw them. and knowing they're going to get destroyed, but making sure I do as much damage before, so that unit is doing the damage isn't going to come through my back and do a lot more damage. So it would be, the thing is, I would say even sending one ship against them just to delay them even until they dealt with that, so that at least they're actually putting up a fight rather than just saying, no problem, on you go.
Well, the thing is, they don't have the entire fleet. They only have a handful of ships, so it's a resource thing. But again, I asked the Warhammer question just to kind of like jump out of this, because this is definitely a major topic to discuss about strategic, Sun Tzu, Art of War, Machiavellian tactics, the whole thing. But what did you think of the music, the score of the film?
I never even noticed it.
Really?
I literally did not even notice the score of the film.
That's quite good, because it's like epic and grandstanding.
I must admit.
I can remember. I remember that it had some very grand music. Had a very grand score, but I can't remember, because this is the very first time we watched it, even though we just watched it this evening. I can remember like couple points while I was watching the film where the score just really like crescendoed, and it just worked well with the scenes, but I didn't really I didn't think about it too much, but I just found that it was good. I did enjoy it.
The reason I asked it is because, as I said, I hung out with a lot of people that did work on this film. Yeah. Unbeknownst to me, I will reinforce, it was just people I was hanging out with in Soho. But they said the score was intentionally being written high to be like grandstanding, crescendos and everything, but still so subtle enough that it wouldn't overtake a scene or anything. And I just said, music is there, you hear it all the time. And they said, no, you don't always hear the music when it's there, but it is there. It's adding to the scene, but you don't think of it as music.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the thing is, there's very few bits of music. I literally, most of the time, the music, I don't even register there's music playing. Sing the tubular bells for the...
Oh, Mike Oldfield, now you're talking.
Yeah, I mean, tubular bells, just for... what were we watching on Saturday? Come on. Halloween. Yeah, I mean, that thing, the Star Wars theme, the Doctor Who theme, those things. But see, when I'm watching the movie, unless those type of themes, the theme of the movie, the Jaws, those type of things, 90% of the time you could say, what was playing? Was there something playing in the background? Didn't notice. Because the music to me, I don't listen to music. I don't listen to record. I don't listen to any music at all. Believe it or not, I don't like music. So,
but actually, that's why we all take different things away, which I find fascinating. I mean, if that's the thing. I mean, your takeaway is different than somebody else's, and then some of us, like I do notice the music.
Yeah,
it very much so in some cases as well, like Jurassic Park, Star Wars, Jaws, all those films. Yes. But then there's other films that I watch where the music is there, and it's very helpful. It guides you through the film. Certain things are about to happen because the music is signaling to you that that's going to happen. But like, I might not want to. I wouldn't think twice about it after I finish watching the film. So to me, it kind of depends on the film.
See, that's the thing as well. See, it's the same as when I'm talking about it and somebody says the music thing, and I think, did I miss something? Because I don't notice the music. So did I miss something the way the thing? Because I am aware that, there might be things I miss because the music is actually playing, like, for instance, try to be a bit subtle and you don't know. So the music sort of hints at something that was said that you missed because you're listening to it. And I'm aware that I do have limitations because the music means nothing to me. But
I think the music is important for films because it signals when things are about to happen. It guides you through the film. It helps to create a vibe, a mood of a film. So it is. I think it is quite an important component. And I think even if you're not like tuned into the music, that's fine. But I think maybe it is actually still film, but you're not. It's just not something that's on your radar, and that's fine.
I know there's been movies I've watched 2 or 3 times, and someone says, "Did you notice that?" No. They say the bit where the music goes zoot, and I think I didn't even notice the music, so I probably missed that. And I'm aware of that because it's all to do with how we like me. I could find wee things that are picky, and I notice other people don't actually even notice the wee silly picky bits, like for all the bit when they're actually right, everybody be quiet, we're on silent running, da 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 da, and they're sitting there thinking, did they realise that sound doesn't travel through space? So wee things like that, but it doesn't take it away from it. But it sort of is a wee niggle, and if there's too many wee niggles, that's when it starts going. But the occasional ones here and there don't bother me.
Yeah, the Somewhere in Space absolutely killed FCD. That is like I was like clinging on as like maybe they will have something good. I mean, it's crap as it is, but Somewhere in Space, I just went, come on. Even though it's science mumbo jumbo in all of Star Trek, that is like no.
Wing Commander's sonar in space worked because they didn't call it sonar in space. What they were doing is sending out a signal, and the ping was just their representation of they're getting and the radar is picking up something, so you're getting the ping. Like for instance,
they're basically lighting up, not sounding up something.
Yes, basically. So technically, they're saying it's like sonar because they're sending out a ping, but it's not pinging. What it's their active sonar and their passive sonar. What they're doing is, like for instance, when they're depth charging them into the thing, they're bombing all that. You hear the missiles coming in. You hear bing, 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 getting faster because it's getting closer. Wouldn't work, but I understood what they were trying to portray. They were trying to portray that they were lighting it up because anything without a signal would appear and disappear, like the Skipper missile. Because it didn't cloak, although they were showing it cloaking, but what it was doing is it was using ballistic trajectory. It was going zoop, and then it would go online to do a radar sweep and then turn to get a better thing and then do a ballistic trajectory. So in effect, it was cloaking. It was going dark because, and they said no. The only way they can get it is if a pilot spots it, because they can't track it because it's on a ballistic trajectory. And that's, although they didn't use those words, but the way they talk about it, they're implying that. But they're using science mumbo jumbo to get around that.
Because it's like it's firing up its radar, it wants to know where its target is, it's like sending out massive electronic signals because it wants to. That's how the pilot can see it. But because it literally just like, it does it for like 5 seconds, and then it just shuts down. I know where I need to aim. I'm going that direction. I'm getting closer to the target. I need to light up again because the target will have moved a little bit. I'm going to focus a little bit more toward the target I need to, but go quiet again.
But that's what I'm saying. So they tell you that the only way it can go is if a pilot's got a visual on it. So they're showing you it's sort of blinking out, and as if it's disappearing, so it's as if it's stealthy. But what they're effectively, the way they're describing it, not showing it, the way they're describing it is effectively it's going dark, so they can't detect it because it's
silent running.
It's firing a missile going that way, and then it switches all its electronics off, and it continues going that way until it comes on again, does a scan, then redirects itself, then. And it's that. So they show it with the science mumbo jumbo. So I'm aware that the cloaking and stuff like that, and they called it a skipper because it would disappear from their sensors. But I understood where they were going with it. So certain things I could understand why they're using this science mumbo jumbo, because it's like the machine guns. If you were outside, you wouldn't hear them, but you still, it gives you the effect. Because if you were just seeing the ship going like that, and then one going, poof, and then thing, it wouldn't be fun. But whereas you see the two ships and it's they're fighting and they're avoiding things. It's the same as the projectiles were all, to me, heated, so they were all white. It was almost like, although they were firing machine guns, it was like firing laser bolts. It's so you can see it.
Well, it comes from something, and I don't know if any of you actually did military service or anything, but you do have something called tracer bullets.
Oh, I know.
They basically have luminosity, coating, but you don't have it on every bullet. If you're firing a machine gun, you may have it on every 10 bullets. It's just to see where your trajectory is going, so you can actually lower it down, tighten it up, wherever it is, because you want to know you're hitting your target, especially useful during the dark. But it makes it look like laser, like missiles, because a bullet is 700 meters a second or something. It's super fast. So your eye is literally going it's this big.
Yeah, and that's why they're called tracers. It's so you can trace the trajectory. It's literally that. But the thing is, I can understand why they do them in movies like Wing Commander. They needed the even though in space you wouldn't see that. They needed the explosions, although in space there wouldn't be explosions because there's no oxygen to go and keep that. Basically, they would just go and just disintegrate. Look at Babylon 5, they do it a lot better because obviously they use a lot better. But that didn't make this film any less fun. You needed those science elements and the visual elements to understand what was happening. It's more fun watching the explosions in space. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So, and
something that comes to my mind is the broadside when the snake is when they're literally doing that slow moments, drop shields, unleash everything right into the side of the ship.
The only thing it got me with that was he dropped the shields before he actually told them to prepare and fire. And you're sitting there thinking, no, what you do is you drop shields, press the button, so the shields disappear, the thing, and then you raise the shields. You don't drop the shields and then move in. And that was the wee bit it got me. There was too long a delay between the drop, the shields, and the fire. There wasn't even a something like, for instance, well, it takes us X amount of time for the shields to depower, which I can understand. That would have been because it's an electromagnetic.
Yeah, but it is a remnant from proper naval battles.
Yeah, but
for you to get into place to actually deliver a proper broadside, even if you had steel bulkings or whatever on your ship, you would still take a massive amount of punishment just to get into that position, because it's literally queen takes king in chess, because it's that powerful of a move. But you have to sacrifice a lot of peasants and knights and rooks and everything to get to that position. That's essentially what it is.
But
and
that's what I'm saying.
I think it's shown greatly because it's that sacrifice. You're exposing yourself weak, but wow.
Yes, but when you're actually using things like that, which I must admit, I do really enjoy the submarine battle, the aircraft battle, the broadside battles and stuff like that. I enjoy all of that naval because they brought all the naval aspects into it. But the fact is, you would drop your shields at the last minute before the torpedoes fired. However, they didn't. Even if it was a case of he turns around and says, "How long will it take to depower the shields?" It takes 5 seconds. Okay, right, do it now. Prepare to fire. So you give you a 5-second delay or a 10-second. So it depends how long it takes. But the fact that they didn't mention it, and then he tells them to drop the shields, and they're getting blasted as they get into position.
I got 2 things here. The first thing, Wendy, are you cheating on us with Grand Moff Miranda in the chat? Because I see
Yes,
you
a little
having an
bit.
amazing discussion about MacGyver, Richard Dean Anderson, which is my favorite character of all time.
I've did the review of Stargate the movie, loved it, and I did the first 2 seasons of Stargate SG-1 with my friend Gordon, but it's one of the early ones.
You two are doing a lot of chatting about it. No, I love the naval stuff. I thought that really worked well, and I love that vibe, because I was thinking it has almost like a Hunt for Red October type feel.
Yeah,
a couple of times.
I remember I was talking about Star Trek Wrath of Khan when they were in the cloud,
the Dembla.
Remember, that Stargate Trek Wrath of Khan, that was almost submarine warfare. And I thought it was really good for that. And I liked the idea that they had the aircraft carrier and then shields up, and what it did was boom. So basically that big gap wasn't a target, it shut up. So they opened that up to let the craft in and out, but they closed it again. It'd be like, it's like it's doing a broadside. The last thing that got done before the cannons got popped up was the doors got opened, cannons went out, fire, the cannons got brought back in, the doors got shut. So at least it's not a lot, but it's a bit of protection. And things like that I enjoyed, I must admit. But
something I like with this one, and comparing it to something like Star Trek, even though we know that Star Trek is doing the same with the phaser torpedoes, blah, 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 all of that, is the fact that it's actual missiles they're loading into the cannon, to the tubes. But you actually get to see it quite explicitly in Wing Commander that, hang on, this isn't just, we're pressing a button because we will like have batteries and energies and lasers. It's like, no, it's just like, there's like 60 people on deck physically pushing items into these cannons, getting them ready to fire.
But Games Workshop Battletech Gothic, basically, although the ships are like that size, they talk about in the book that you have to have a crew of X amount because they have to physically load all these torpedoes and stuff like that. So they talk about like that. So I did like that, but remember also the missiles at the forward battery, the autoloader failed, so they didn't work. Whereas at the side, like for the broadside, they were all done manually because obviously the autoloader, it's using autoloaders at one part and not in another. I wish they hadn't even mentioned. I would have preferred as the torpedo racking was damaged and it. Shut up. Do you know what it is?
That must become a meme.
Do you know what he's growling at? I've opened my cabinet and it's basically it's glass cabinet and he's sitting up and he can see his reflection.
That was so funny.
He's looking at he's like, oh yeah.
all I was hearing in the beginning was literally like a tummy rumble. Oh, he's getting hungry. And then he would just go, no, shut up.
Right, I'm going to shut this cabinet before he stops. He's staring right at it because it's actually he can just see him.
It's funny.
Because it's glass, you can see the movement and he's going. And it's
just tickled me. That was funny.
You're a nutcase.
I'm just going to say this. Pets are the best entertainment on the planet. I don't care about Star Trek, Star Wars, any of the original crap. Pets are absolutely
They are indeed. They are indeed.
No, I'll say Babylon 5. And I used to have 2 cats.
Oh, trust me, the cat that I had that was called Napoleon. A very suicidal cat, I will say.
Oh.
Definitely a lot more entertaining than Babylon.
I had Stretch and Two-Tone because it was black, like its brother, but his brother was turtle-shelled. So it was tan with black lines, so you could see all the pattern. Whereas the black one, you had 2 shades of black, so you could see all the pattern, but So I used to call it two-tone because it was literally two-tone of black. But the other one used to go lie down, stretch. It used to stretch all the time. It would sit down, it would stretch. It would go to stand up, it would stretch. It would go to actually chase the other cat, it would stretch. Every fucking time, so it got stretch. Because I had started off calling him Starsky and Hutch, and I thought, no, that'll no work. Starbuck and Apollo, no, that doesn't work. And then I went through all these Jules, Abbott and Costello, couldn't, and then I just sat and watched the two of them. Yep, stretch. So all the other names are out the window.
I'm still laughing at that.
Yeah. So Napoleon got his name because he was always strategically placing himself where he would get hurt on purpose. So if a door was closing, he would like just two steps inside, but his tail would be hanging between the door and the frame when it was smacking, and then just yelp and just run. And okay, you would think a cat would learn. I was like, that hurt. No. He did it for the 10 years he was alive, constantly.
Oh. God,
so that's strategic position, Napoleon.
Yeah.
You remember actually in Stargate, was it season 1, where Samantha Carter, she was actually fixing something, and she said to Richard Dean Anderson, he says, "Did you get the part?" She says, "No, I MacGyvered it."
Yeah, I love that. But the fact is, I've talked to so many fans of MacGyver that also like Stargate, the TV series. They missed it completely. They never registered because it's just such a quick scene, just such a quick flash reference. But I picked up on it, and that was like, Sam Carter is my hero.
Yeah, but it's the same as Wendy says earlier about Dirk Benedict. In the start of A-Team, every single episode, you see him in a in the silent walks past, and he goes,
"Don't I know you?" Yeah,
it's basically, it's just and that is it. And to me, that's perfect. It's just one of those wee things. It's like watching the X-Men movie, the first one, and I read the comics, so I really liked it. And the fact that they were all dressed in black, and I thought, there's none of them going to be wearing their outfits. Yeah. And then Wolverine gets introduced, and he says, "I'll give you." So they're walking down, and he's dressed in black. He says, He says, a bit snug. He says, "Well, it's my spear." He says, "What did you expect? Yellow spandex." I thought, excellent. They're not using it, but at least they make a nod at it.
Yeah,
that's that type of thing I really like. It's the same as when they do. I've seen TV shows of other things, and they do wee silly things like that. I'm okay with that.
But that's something I'm missing so much from the new film writing, and I'm not sure if you saw Critical Drinker's latest.
Yes, I did.
About, like, it's written for children.
It's written by children, not for children.
Yeah, it's written by children, but they can't talk to the fans. Yes, he's doing the comparison on like it's a child writing and trying to like make something, but the nudges, like the nods, like what do you expect? Yellow spandex? That's a nod. Okay, we realize, okay, we're going with this visual styles. Apologies to you fans, but here is the fun reference. And you go, I will completely forgive that it doesn't look like what I would expect from it.
Yeah.
Because you made the nod, you made at least the acknowledgement that was there, but we're going with this visual style.
You know the difference? The difference was in Wolverine. The Origins, Wolverine Origins, is when they've got Deadpool. And what do they do with Deadpool? They sew his mouth shut.
Oh God, yeah.
So that is, they basically said, well, he's known as the Merc with the mouth. So what are we going to do? We're going to sew his mouth shut. And so people are turning around going, that's not a nod. That is literally turning around and saying, we're going to make sure he's our Deadpool. So it's not a nod to the comics or whatever. That's why you've got the end scene in Deadpool, where Ryan Reynolds basically says, he goes on about, even in the movie, I want an outfit as long as it's not green and stuff like that. Or, I mean, and he's doing that, funny. And then he goes back at the end. You see him going back, and you see him actually shooting. There is the other Deadpool. You know what I mean? It's basically he's going out taking them out because he's going back and saying, obviously Green Lantern didn't work, so I don't want another red outfit. But then he's actually going out and executing himself in a different movie because it was crap. Which it does the Ferris Bueller part. He comes out with the Ferris Bueller outfit, nice nod. Whereas they do the opposite of a nod in the Wolverine movie where they've got Deadpool, and you see him at the beginning. There's Ryan Reynolds with the swords, and they're basically the bullets are getting chopped in midair and stuff like that. And then what do? They take him, and then basically sew his mouth up, so he suddenly stops being the merc with the mouth, and they're thinking that's a nod. No, it's the complete opposite. You've turned around and says, we're taking what you want and getting rid of it. And that's what I don't like. Whereas, in Wing Commander, I can't comment on the game. Jim obviously could comment, but what Jim has said about it, you've got the annoying character, which was annoying in the game. However, you can't assume people have watched or played the game, so you can't have a character who comes in just ultra annoying and then think people are going to say, that's from the game. Yep. Because you need to build him up, or they built him up quite well because he starts off annoying and he just gets worse. But the bit where you're meant to feel sorry for him, no. To me, it didn't make me feel sorry for him. It just made me felt annoyed with him because he killed the best character in it.
I don't go to the step of feeling sorry for it. I recognize that the writers actually given him an arc, which really doesn't happen today. It's basically just flatline. Nothing happens. No challenge. No reason to become stronger, better. Reflect on your actions. There's nothing like that. But I caught up on the real BBC show, and apparently there is some kind of like writing mandate now in Hollywood where they literally buried the whole hero's journey story arc. You can never use that in film telling again. But I'm just going, the hero's journey.
Of course you can't do it because that's implying people have to learn. A hero's journey won't work because you're implying that people don't already know everything and they have to learn.
So is what the conclusion was. It's like life in easy mode, but I agree with Az. Life doesn't have an easy mode. Well, it might have been Gary.
No. Life has an easy mode as long as you've got the money. Then you've got.
I don't think. I agree. Money would solve a lot of my problems, but it wouldn't solve all of them.
No, I'm not saying it's not problems. I'm talking about. Let's put it this way: somebody hands you $1 billion. Is your life going to get any harder?
Yeah, because I wouldn't have to know what to do with $1 billion.
No, my life's going to be easier because if I've got $1 billion, I'll do what I want, when I want, and how I want. And that's what I'm saying. So you have got an easy mode. You look at all these nutcases nowadays. They're out there trying to give themselves meaning because they've had it easy. Because anything they wanted, they got. Anything they didn't like got taken away, so they didn't see, or sacked or fired. Oh, he says I can't count, and I've told him the 64.5 times that I can count twice. And you're sitting there thinking, these people have got zero common sense, but because they've got the money, they can get what they want, and they can actually treat people how they do treat people how they want, even though. And it never seems to come back. And that's what I'm saying. So life has got an easy mode, but you have to have the money and power to do it.
You see, I firmly disagree with you there, PJ.
Well, give me
Yes,
the billion you've got in your
if
pocket,
we-
and I'll take it and see how easy my life gets for the
Well,
last year
I
of
would
it.
happily donate $1 billion if I had it and could spare it. But today, being, well, too old to mention on the stream, I have wisdom, I have experience. I know what it means to only have £10 in your pocket and there is 2 weeks until payday. I know what it means to go like, noodles, tinned tomatoes for like 20p's, trying to solve all of that, making sure that you have everything you need. I know the value of 20p, what you can actually get from 20 pence. If we have Americans, it's what's 20 cents. I know that bit. So for me, $1 billion is
You can get 2 of them.
exactly. I used to get a pack of Hubba Bubba bubble gums.
I remember Hubba Bubba.
Yeah, you got the flavors and it lasted forever. Oh, look at that!
Oh,
of course, he got it.
Lovely.
But when you would come into possession just immediately of that, I would say if a 20-year-old kid, even struggling, so we have, what was his name? Rushford, big football player in UK, always like promoting, it's like, oh, kids can't eat in school and everything, like let's make food programs for them and everything. I think he, as a big football star, getting all that money that he does, he probably appreciates how much he's getting paid. But take a rich kid going into a rich paid job, not understanding that. I would reverse the role. Let's have the rich kid that is used to like, oh, I don't have to worry, I just swipe the card, buying whatever I want.
But that's the problem.
Let's have him
problem.
on the low level just for 6 months, see if he actually figures it out.
But that's the problem. People used to, I've got money, but I want you to take over my business. However, you need to start at the bottom and work your way up. So you need to do the hard, crappy jobs. You'll get a salary, but it will not be what you think it is, just so you appreciate the hard work and what the money does. Nowadays, they turn around and say, aye, no problem. What do you want? And that's the difference. That's why I'm saying there is an easy level. And it's because certain people actually just pander to anything their kids want. So you got the money to make it an easy level.
£1 billion given to any 20-year-old kid today, and I don't mean current year, we can take a kid in the 1970s, if you just dumped £1 billion in his lap, would fail capitally just as much as a kid today in his 20s would fail completely with it. Whereas if you take someone with a little bit of life experience, knowing like, oh crap, I've been unemployed for a couple of months, I've had a hardship, I got evicted. I'm just trying to think of like all bad shit.
I'm aware of things like, for instance, if I win the lottery today, I know certain things would get a hell of a lot better. Like my room would
the collection would
expanded. I would get all the figures I wanted. I would spend the time, my whole studio would be bigger. I would still do the things I enjoy, but I would have the money to do it. However, if I win the lottery when I was 20, I would have been dead in a year. Because I was like, well, no 20, let's say 35 between my 2 marriages. I was on my Todd, my kids were all grown up, and I couldn't cook. So I would have been out spending the money every night buying sweeties, curries, whatever. I would have been dead in a year.
You wouldn't have the life experience yet to be able to.
But that's what I'm saying. But if I'd got it when I was 16, I would have actually 16 to maybe 35. I wouldn't have killed myself. I had a job, and my mother and father made sure I fucking worked. And then I got married and I had kids. So once the kids were out the house and I was on my own, I literally just did what I wanted, which was a lot of drinking, a lot of eating junk and stuff like that. Then I got married again, and no problem. So now, if I had the money, I would I'd be in the easy street. I would be living the easy life, and that's the difference. However, young people, when they've always got it, they don't understand it.
It is what a lot of the YouTubers and everything that I'm following is. Most of the people complaining today, oh, this and that, blah, 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 social media. By the way, Twitter isn't real. What's on Twitter is just people expressing a thought. It's not real. But they have not gotten used to the word no. So say you had £1 million to spend, or £1 billion, and you went up and you say you want to buy a car or a house or something like that because, yeah, I have the money, I'll pay over the odds. But the owner just said, no, I'm not selling. I think the three of us on this call, and maybe the entire chat, we would understand no in that sense, but I don't think current year understands no.
No. I quite agree with that. I'm just actually, there's a here I've got somewhere.
Yeah, I have to apologize. I've seen the chat been flying. There's tons of amazing comments, and it's like I would like to type, but it's been a good conversation here as well. But I see all of you, and I do reread the comments after the streams. It's like you were correct. I see it talks about MacGyver, Stargate. You're on fire tonight, chat. You're amazing as always.
Yeah, we're having fun.
There was a lot of bits and pieces I missed. Like, for instance, there was Space Above and Beyond mentioned, Stargates, A-Teams.
Yes,
I love Stargate. That shelf there, behind these, is all my Stargate DVDs. Even Stargate and stuff like that. I've watched them all. Didn't like Universe. That was the one I didn't like. But all the other.
That's the one that really hooked me. Okay,
Dark
not
dark.
as good as SG1. Atlantis was definitely better, but I was actually mesmerized, if we put it that way. It wasn't the best, but it mesmerized me. I wanted to actually learn more about or the doctor that always keeps everything he discovers on the ship secret. And it's like he's always standoffish. And you have the captain that is supposed to lead the mission, but he's injured, so he's not really capable of delivering fully on his role. You have your young sergeant that is supposed to be like the hot-looking one, and I kind of understand that. You have your geeky character that kind of discovers the technologies that the main scientist guy is like, he's too busy to take in that. So it feels like they split Samantha Carter's role into two. So you had the young and interested guy, which is like a mix of Samantha Carter and Daniel. And you have the pure scientist, say like an evil split twin of Sam Carter, where you have the pure like scientist, and then you have the soldier. It's like get stuff done. It feels like that. So I think it was cleverly played that way, but I felt it was a little bit boring because we've had at this time about 15 years of Stargate stories on a weekly basis. So it's like a fatigue.
Wow.
I see. There's certain episodes I'll still rewatch again.
I had started watching the Stargate TV series, and I remember seeing a few episodes of it. I don't know if I saw it from the very beginning.
You'll be able to tell if you saw it from the very beginning. If the very first episode, it was more adult because there was nudity in it. And then they re-edited it later on to get rid of it.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, I believe the one that is on Amazon Prime at the moment do not have nudity in it at all. But the actual original show did have nudity.
I wouldn't have thought of that with that show, because it seemed a bit of a safe type program in that regard.
The producers didn't want the nudity. It was the executives wanted to appeal to a more adult audience, whereas the producers wanted to make it more friendly for.
If I'm going to be brutally honest, the fact that they show her nude makes absolutely no difference. There's no
difference, but the fact is they filmed it in such a way that they could cut that bit out, and it didn't make any difference. So when it was rebroadcast and on the DVD, that part cut. So it's actually now the way it's wanted to do.
Nudity is never anything I would expect from Stargate. I would maybe have expected, say, exotic clothing, but even that they managed to do quite well in the first season, where he's a big famous Asian actor, Gary something, always keep getting his last name, but you know him when you see him, who he is. And in this case, he's like more Genghis Khan. But even the women, even though they're supposed to be attractive and like appeasing and everything, and Samantha Carter is absolutely objective.
That is the worst episode of season 1.
It is.
Even on
she's
IMDb.
literally fully dressed. There is no like cleavage or anything in it. She's meant to be more attractive, and okay, she stands out from the background, but it's literally like the famous National Geographics, where there's this Indian girl with the red shawl around her head. Most people on the planet would have seen that, but it stands out just because the red shawl. Nothing else is like the attractive thing in it. Although she's cute, but it is like that eye-catching thing, and they work that well. She's not running around in like a skimpy harem bikini or anything. She's fully dressed, and they play that well. And that for me is Stargate.
Yep. The thing is, Stargate, I would say the first 8 seasons are the best. Once the Ori came in, it started getting into magic, and I didn't like it.
The only thing that saved the Ori part is the fact that it went from Stargate 1 to become Farscape.
Yeah, but I know they had thing, but the fact is I didn't like it because it started becoming magic, because they started having powers. So you had the Ori against the Ancients, and the Ori used their powers, and you're sitting there thinking, no. I wanted it was based a lot of it.
The gradual explanation I was going through is like, hang on, they're not magic. They just have a wormhole traveling system.
Yeah.
We just figure out how that works. Oh, they do have laser-ish weapon?
Aye, they had weapons. They had future technology. The Ori were meant to have had future technology. However, the way they actually just portrayed it, it was magic. Like, for instance, the dampening field, it's just, I don't know, they just portrayed it as it wasn't ancient technology, because the ancients, all their technology, although it looked magical, there was always a bit behind it you could understand what they were talking about. Whereas the Ori, they were...
so the 0 point module, which becomes more prevalent in Atlantis, but it's still known in SG-1.
Yeah, so you would have the rings and stuff like that. You understand what it was about. It's just, I don't know. It just got to the point I went, no. And that's why the Ori stuff I didn't like.
I mean, I hate to be the typical bloke here, but Claudia Black, she saves a lot of TV shows for me. It was just
Claudia
because
Black,
I enjoy it.
Let me Google her and see who she is. Claudia
She
Black.
was in Farscape. She played Valda.
Airing soon, Farscape.
She played Valda in
Stargate. Yes.
See, I liked her in Farscape, didn't like her in Stargate.
But you see, for me, she's much more than just eye candy. She's very pleasant to look at, but she's very competent at stepping into a role. So if you take Vala, which is flaky, silly, naive, all those like weak things, and then you compare to Aaron Soon in Farscape. It's like strong, commanding, experience, talent, knowledge.
See, I liked her in Farscape, but I just didn't like the Valda character in SG1. I thought it just started taking SG1 and down a route that I wasn't as keen on. Still watched it, still enjoyed it, but not as much. The first 8 seasons are my favourite. Once they get rid of, and as Archer says, yes, any significantly advanced technology is indistinguishable by magic. However, they'd been dealing with the ancient technology and stuff like that. There was always, even though it was beyond our ken, as it were, the Ori, it just seemed almost like the way they were acting it was magic, and it just took us out of it. And yes, I know they were using technology, but you look at how the daughter, what was her name? Vala's daughter in it. She was the prophet of Ruori, and just things she would do. You're sitting there thinking she's not got any technology on her, but these things are happening around her because why? Yes, if like you got the Gould, they had the finger, the thing with the stone in it, and it was almost they were using that as if they could torture people by melting their brains and stuff like that. But you knew that was a piece of technology they were using. The way the Ori were doing it, it was almost like they weren't using technology. There was no visible technology they were using, and it just seemed to go down the route of they wanted to just shove the magic down the throat.
Yeah.
I know she is a very good actress. It's just I think it was taking Stargate, and because the Ori were there, I was liking Stargate less, and it was round about the time she came in, it started changing, and that's why I'm not as keen on her in Stargate. But as I said, I've got Farscape, and I think Farscape is superb. So I can't actually say it's just because she's in it. It's superb, but she's great in it. Her character's great in it. So I can't help that. But anywho, let's get back to Wing Commander, because I need to be finishing in about just under half an hour because I'm back to work tomorrow.
I'm afraid I'm the same.
Yeah.
And I got 8:30 till 7:30 tomorrow. We have an off-site day, and it's going to be long.
So,
yes.
So let's go back to Wing Commander. All these other programs are great, and I can't deny that. But so let's go round the table first. Jim, you are going to be last because you have obviously seen this a lot more than we did. Wend, what was your overall impression? What would you recommend? What didn't you like?
Overall impression, I really enjoyed it. It kept me very engaged. I loved the space battles. I loved the sort of nostalgia that popped up now and then, particularly with the targeting imagery. I loved the submarine vibe that they created on the ship in some of the battle scenes. It feels a bit dated, but it doesn't. At least for me, I didn't feel let down by that. In fact, I found it quite charming, at times to watch it. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I'd say I'd probably give it about a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, that's superb. You actually took a lot of the words out of my mouth. But
sorry.
Yeah, I quite agree with that because I hadn't seen it before, and I was thoroughly entertained both times I watched it. I enjoyed it immensely. Yeah. There was a couple of niggles, and it was silly niggles. It just got me on the second watch. Didn't really know. I noticed them in the first, but I'm always the same when I'm watching the first time. It's just a case of impressions, and it was the Shaggy. he just annoyed me. His character was just too grating, and it didn't seem to gain anything from the death of the best character on the TV show. Sorry, the movie, which was Rosie, Jenny Holder. The fact that she died annoyed me. That was I think that was the lowest point that I was sitting there thinking, no. I was shouting at the dog, but no. On the whole, but I could see myself watching this and still enjoying it. Those two wee bits were negligible for the enjoyment factor. I loved the space battles. I thought the CGI for the ships were really good. The Kilrathi were actually, considering you didn't see a lot of them, and the bits you did see, actually they didn't look bad either, considering when it was made. And I don't know what the budget was like, but I can't imagine it being a lot was spent on the costumes for them, because they looked too stiff. However, they were not bad stiff. They weren't Metal Mickey bad. And that's anybody knows what Metal Mickey is, then you understand what I'm talking about. But they were, so if you were looking at, if it was a robot, they're not Metal Mickey bad, they are Forbidden Planet robot good.
So I did a quick Wikipedia search on it. The budget for the Wing Commander film was just $30 million.
What's that in today's calculations?
That I can't tell you, but 30 million.
No, you can do a calculation. Just say what was 30 million worth in 19.
Well, considering it was made in 99, and 2 years later we got Lord of the Rings for over $1 billion.
Well, I must admit, that was considering what it was spent on it, I think they did a really good job. I loved the CGI. I thought the ships looked great. There was a couple of wee niggly bits, but nothing that I would say that ruined the movie. And the only reason I would give it an 8 rather than more would be the Matthew Lillard's character. That's the only thing it would actually draw it down. The rest of it, I loved. I loved seeing all the faces of some of the well-known actors that was used. Even less well-known actors, like, for instance, John McGlynn. He basically is a British actor, and he's not a big movie star, but he's been in a good few programs that I enjoyed. And as I said, Jenny Holder, she is fantastic. So seeing her in it, she's been in some of my favourite programs, Blake Seven, Death in Paradise. You know what I mean? She's just great. David Suchet.
Suchet. Yes.
So,
I'm a massive David Suchet fan. So.
Yeah. And even things like, as you said, David Warner, Jürgen
Prochnow.
That's the word. I ain't going to even try and pronounce that. With a name like mine, I still have problem with other people's. And even Checky Cario. He is fantastic in it as well. But I enjoyed it. I can't say too much bad about it. And the only bad bits I can say is basically the character. And as Jim says, the character came from the actual game. So he's meant to be annoying. And it worked in that respect. It was annoying, but it's just, he killed my favourite character, so that's why it gets a So, but yeah, I would give that an 8 out of 10, and I enjoyed it, and I would watch it again easily. Yeah. So, Jim, being a bit more understanding of the lore behind it, what do you think?
I'm going to shock you, PJ. I'm giving this one 7.5. Probably more because I know more about the background of it and everything. but it's getting from a 7 to 7.5 because, like, I'm not sure if we did discuss it very early as the stream started or it was just in the green room before, but it is the fact that this is a video game made into a film. And this is how you do it. It's not the best ever that you can do, but this is a very good building block, like a stepping stone. This is exactly how you take a beloved franchise, you respect people that have loved, supported, made it possible for you to take a video game to make it into a film. Yes. Now, I agree quite a lot that Todd Maniac Marshall, he is there to not be liked. And unfortunately, when you do have such a character, and he's not the evil guy, he's not the guy that's supposed to die at the end, he's just not the nice guy. That unfortunately draws it back a little bit. And there is no way you can translate your obnoxious coworker that you just have to get along with. You cannot translate that in any meaningful or useful way.
Yeah.
The things that knock it back a little bit more is it's still the 1990s space battles and everything. So whereas they are trying, like you guys have mentioned, it's like the feel of a U-boat, a submarine. It's like the hiding behind stuff, the whole thing. It's great, but the physicality is the thing I would want stepped up today. So I'm unfortunately giving it a little bit of a knock back because the way I understand it today, thinking of shows like Expanse, where they're actually trying to make the real physics happen. But even so, it gives it a little bit of bump up as well, because yes, in space, you don't have gravity, you still have mass. So when the snake here in the broadside engagement, when it's turning, it has mass. It takes it a long time. So it's not like instantly turning. It actually takes its time to move out of the way because they're in a chicken race. So I think that scene is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But what really make this stand out is not the individual characters, it's the interaction between each and every one of them. From David Warner, David Suchet, Ginny, Rosie, which is, by the way, like you guys discovered, and I'm actually surprised that you instantly fell in love with her as well. It's like she is the best character, full stop. But it is Blair, Freddie Prinze Jr., it's Angel, Saffron Burrows, all the interactions between them. And even when Saffron Burrows has to dress down Maniac because he just killed Rosie, her best friend, she has to step aside from being her best friend to actually being the wing commander. What is best for the ship, not what do I want to do, because she wants to shoot him in the head. She wants to kill him right then and there.
Yeah.
So it's the personal interactions, loss, good, bad, evil, complicated. Even Hunter in the canteen, when he discovers that Blair is actually Pilgrim, and Blair is just going, oh no, he's just showing me how things work around the ship. When Angel comes in and like, what the hell is going on here?
That was very cliche, but it was still...
It's cliche, but if you look at the overall, every interaction between every individual, even the commanders and their first lieutenants on the command decks, it feels natural.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like wrong. It doesn't feel like out of place. It's, I'm reporting this, or hang on, we have a snake here that has entered the system, and the commander is going, no, I'm making the decision. We're going to the jump point. We don't care about that. Well, like we were discussing, it's like, okay, 5 billion people may die, but he's actually following the command. The commander said, we're going there. We leave that until later.
Yeah. Right. Got a couple of questions and things I want to say. But while I'm doing that, anybody in the chat who has seen it, what would you give it out of 10? Just out of curiosity. Right. Question I've got for you guys is, this is a movie based on a computer game. We've had quite a few, some rubbish ones, Mario Brothers, some really good ones, Doom. What one have you seen or would you like to see made into a movie?
I'll go first because I'm the youngest.
You're more the gamer, I would say.
Yes.
I'm definitely the gamer. But there is a video game that came out that absolutely just swiped me. It's like it's smacked with emotions, like investment in characters, caring even about side characters, and it's called Horizon Zero Dawn. And I know you guys don't play too many video games, so you may never have played this, but there are a few spoilers, but I'm risking it because I think you will never actually play it. But it's technically set about 1,000 years into the future from now. Humanity did discover AI and things like that, but there was something that was causing a catastrophe. So humanity had to go into hiding for a very long time.
Okay.
During that long time, because things needed to be tended and maintained and taken care of, an AI was allowed to like build robots to like care for environment, clean stuff up and everything. For some reason, the AI made the machines working the fields into dinosaurs, and I'm saying dinosaurs loosely. But when you're reappearing, you're coming back as the story of a young child, a girl called Aloy. But she is an immediate outcast because she wasn't born by a human. She was just suddenly found at the temple of the matriarch's stronghold. And most of this game is completely matriarchally run. Just like very strong feminist, like, oh, women can actually rule and do stuff, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't shove it down your throat. It's just the way it is. It's like the women have the connectivity to nature, da, da, da. But the main part of the game is you as Aloy, because you're an outcast, you're not part of society. You have to live on the outskirts. So you are a hunter. You're a tracker. You're a problem solver. You help people when you can help people. You care about stuff. And she gets this amazing ability because her father is bringing her up in a good way. And he's been outcast by choice. Not because he was wrong, but because he wasn't found to be wrong. He just considered what crime he committed was wrong against the tribe. But she goes on an amazing journey, having to fight stronger and stronger, because it turns out to be in these robots, there is a virus. And this virus is following the original plan, which was to reset the planet, kill everything, and let it start over.
Like burn everything down and start again. Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh, okay.
But
so like a Terminator virus then.
Pretty much. But the thing is, humanity has actually got back. They're good. They're starting to understand everything, and it's not worth resetting them. But obviously, the main virus wants to reset everything because that is its programming. But during the journey, where Aloy is battling this and she's connecting with the good part of the programming, she gets the discovery of who is her mother, where does things come from, why am I being thrown down this path? Because she's actually not being forced down it. It's literally, she's like grabbed by the neck and just like, go away. And she has to play and learn from that.
It sounds like quite a complex game infrastructure, to sort of...
The game is okay on its own. It's basically stealth, hide, trap, attack when it's best for you. It's that kind of like strategic thinking, but it's the storyline, the absolute storyline behind it. That's just so amazing.
Well, that's a sign of a really good, a really good game or book or film or anything, where you really get invested in the characters. And as you say, even the side characters.
Yeah.
That's great.
I mean, there is even, spoiler alert, again, you won't play the game, and I don't think it would ever actually be part of the film, but there is I think he's a prince, but I might be misspoken here. He might actually be the king of the city. She happens to accidentally solve a lot of his problems. Not in like, oh, this is very fortunate, you suddenly like out of a lot of trouble. It's a lot of things that needs to be fixed. She's accidentally fixing them, and he's accidentally hitting on her. He doesn't mean to, but he can't help himself, because he obviously recognizes you're someone that can get a lot of things done. You would make a very good queen. And you get 3 options, but literally all 3 options is turning him down. You can turn him down nicely, you can turn him down brutally, or you just go, this is not my path.
Wow.
Very good. Do you think he'll ever actually make it into a movie?
I think so, because there is so much there, and there's actually a second part of the game coming out for PlayStation 5.
So there's a possibility, you know what they're like. Well, what about you? What would you say?
I don't have a lot of experience with video games.
And you can't
beyond the early Cretaceous period.
It's already
out. But I would say I can only sort of speak to the ones that are coming to mind. And it's a bit cringe, but I do like the first Lara Croft film. And I do identify with that character a great deal.
We have Rimmer.
And we have Chris Barry, yes.
We have Rimmer in the first one.
That's right.
I'm loving your thought here.
And I do love that film. I call it a bit of a guilty pleasure now, but I do love it. And there was a point in time where they were showing it.
Pleasures.
Yes, there we go. That's a great one. I was hoping you were going to show the T-shirt, because that is a really nice bit of artwork there.
I definitely do like.
Yeah, that's a brilliant shirt.
Hang on, I have to do something.
Hey!
I never said the word.
You didn't say the word, but it's still there.
But I think yes, the Lara Croft. Actually, I played the Lara Croft, I think, once. It's no my type of games. I did like platform games, but that I
would have played that had I sort of had the kit and everything, to play. But I think at the time, it just didn't. I didn't have the time really to invest in video games. Although I'm sure I would enjoy them, because I do love it. I do love watching other YouTubers. I've noticed now you can actually watch people just play a game, which I do quite enjoy. So I've learned a lot that way, watching other people play some of the more modern games. But yeah, so I'd say top of my list would be Lara Croft. I did remember when Quake first came on the scene. And again, I tried to play it through my laptop at the time, and it just wasn't any fun. I mean, you needed the proper accessories and stuff to play it properly and effectively. In that back then when I was trying it out,
to play multiplayer. I used to play it. Or the one basically going through the game, but I also used to play it in the multiplayer mode where it was just free for all.
Yeah,
that was fun.
That was very unpredictable, I'm sure. Yeah, so I do enjoy that. So, and I love shooter games. I love first-person shooter games. I like watching those. So I would suspect I'd probably really enjoy playing those. But it's really just time, circumstances, having that. If I could win the lottery and retire tomorrow, I'd probably be like holed up somewhere, catching up with all this stuff that I haven't had the time to be able to enjoy.
Yeah, I can actually appreciate that.
Oh, but I don't know about you guys, but I'm on an early start tomorrow as well. So
I'll give mine.
Yes.
Then means I used to play first person shoot 'em ups a lot when I was thinking. I had the PlayStation 1 and I used to play that, and I quite enjoyed it. PCs used to play multiplayer first person shoot 'em up, so we'd play against each other. But the games I liked were platforms. I liked things like Jet Set Willy and stuff like that. So those ones, but the one I would want to see, which I don't think is going to be a surprise to anyone, is this one. All right. So, you ready? You'll not be surprised. I've got it on mute and I put it on.
Such an epic company.
It's not Doom. No. I've got it in 1.5 speed. So I have. So it'll fly through it. But I've already mentioned it. So it wouldn't be a surprise to anyone who has listened to me. What do you think?
Again,
I like the
graphic play.
I like the graphics, yeah.
Yeah, this is a trailer for the actual game. This is a trailer for a game. So this is some of the cutscenes from the game. So it is.
Oh, that's a cool scene.
And there you go. XCOM Terror from the Deep. I would love to think, because cool. that to me is more of a TV show. Yeah. Because it's a case of trying to destroy the aliens are catching people, destroying stuff. They have to go and defend them, but they also have to try and catch technology, get technology to help and get there, find out what they're doing and stuff like that. That's a TV show. It's not really a movie. But I would love to see that. So I would.
I will give you this, PJ. It is one of the few games that I know that is actually a rush against time, which a lot of films do really well.
Yeah.
But in terms of a video game, you rarely get it's a rush against time. But the XCOM series does that well. You have to succeed quite well. It's like if you're playing average, you have no chance because you're rushing not only against the enemy but time, and time is literally exponential. By this point, you have no chance of catching up. So you have to be faster initially to try and catch up and strike against them.
Because you look at XCOM, right? There's obviously the first one, which is basically UFO, Enemy Unknown. Terror from the Deep is a better game because they take all the good bits and they expand on it. So you start off with just bog standard weapons. Then you have to capture weapons. You have to research them. Then you have to make them. You can steal ones, and anything you catch at a site and you know how to use them, then you can start using them. But as soon as you run out of, if you learn how to use a pistol, for instance, a laser pistol or a plasma pistol, you can go there with a gauze gun So you could, if you learn how to use the pistol, you can actually kill one of the aliens and use their gun until the bullets are out. But if you've got the gun, but you haven't researched the ammunition for it, you can't. You can take the gun, but you've got no bullets. You don't know how to use it. You have to get a loaded one to use it. So you have to research the ammunition as well. So then you have to actually. Also, it's all to do with finances. You have to make sure you don't build your base so big that you're in debt all the time. Because if you're in debt, then people are, and you also have to put the bases in places where you're helping you out. Because if you put them all, like say for instance, you put all your bases around America, then China, New Zealand, Australia, Russia are not going to pay you any money because they're getting invaded, and it's things like that. So you have to have it round, and you have to you have to do the research. You have to also research the aliens, what they're after, and so you would get a navigator. You would he would give you certain information, but you also.
But it even comes down to the micromanagement.
Yeah, so
you're on the battlefield and you're about to capture an alien, but the only one that can capture an alien, he has 1 hit point left. He's dead, but he has 2 options. He can use his gun to hurt the alien. So you can maybe capture him, or he can throw a grenade. But if he throws a grenade, he destroys the technology that you could capture.
Yeah.
So you have to make those very brutal choices. It's like,
and it is a turn-based one. So you take a turn, then the aliens take a turn in the game. Yeah. But that's just because there's bits where you could walk in, and if an alien's actually held a reserved action, you walk in and it goes bang, like that's you gone. So it's a fun game, but I think as a TV show rather than a movie, this would be really good because you can build up. You could have action every week because there's always invasion, but you can also have the people in the back talking about the research that's been carried out, what they found out, and and it's basically
lots of layers.
A lot of layers about it, and that's why I think
it would be
really good.
Like the first, I would say, maybe 6-7 seasons of Stargate, where they're getting more wiser about the technology that the world is using, understanding what can we do to protect, how can we travel, how can we do this, how can we...
Yeah. But you also have to do recruits and stuff like that, so you have to create your living quarters so you can get your troops, but you also need to create labs so your scientists can actually work. But when you build your lab and you've only got 2 living quarters and there's not enough, then you need to build more living quarters so you can get more scientists, and then you have to do research stations, then you have to do manufacturing things. So you can't just go, this is my base and that is it. You have to build, and then you might find newer technology, so you build that new technology, but you're in that space, so you have to destroy the older technology just so the newer one works. But you can't, if you've run out of space, you have to destroy the old one before the new one, and it can take a month to build. Yeah. And game times, that's a hell of a long time. So
you can pause at every single step.
Oh, you can. You can
for
save
a turn-based game. This is the most hectic game, and I love the first-person shooter where you just like split-second decision. This is a turn-based game, but I find it more hectic than a first-person shooter.
Yeah, because there's a lot more involved rather than just actually killing all the aliens. Initially, it's killing all the aliens until you get the weaponry that you can actually do a bit more, because you can get vibro lances which could stun an alien. But there's certain aliens there's multiple different types of aliens, and certain things will work with others. So, like for instance, you've got a concussion grenade, which is no good against the lizard people, the lobster aliens, basically because they've got the shell. But there's certain things that work better, so you have to actually even research them so you know what weapons to use against certain ones. And it's just fun, and I think this would be I would always love it. I've been playing that since it first came out, XCOM. I've got all 4 of the games. There's more. There is another one out I did play, but it was
I'm on XCOM 2 now.
Yeah, well,
the developer,
They
like
did
the
a
main
first-person
person behind it, he actually left it and he created a new, exactly the same style of rules, like turn-based, research, funding, budgets, science, engineers. This is something you didn't touch on, by the way. You have the living quarters for the soldiers, you have the labs for the scientists, but you also need to have space for the engineers so
That's
they
what
can build what the science
manufacturing
is
and
coming up with.
research. So you had the labs, you also had the manufacturing, you had because basically you also had to have extra hangars. But what I'm saying, the thing is, there was one they did which was a first-person version. So you were a member of a team, but you were the first person, and the other team you basically told them what to do. But it was a first person shoot 'em up. So I wasn't as keen on that one, although I love first person shoot 'em ups.
Yes, and me.
So
thank you so much, both. This was really fun as always.
Definitely.
I'm going to have to dash.
No, we're going to be finishing anyway, but thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I will finish up with some final thoughts here.
Well, before you finish off with final thoughts, Wendy has to run.
Yes, it is for her.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much for having watched this film that I thoroughly love, even though it's not the best film ever, but I find it so amazing. You fell in love with Rosie.
Yeah.
You loved the way it managed to build the universe, the tactical things, the race against time, the whole concept. And it's amazing that you hadn't seen it before, and you found the same, like, it's good, it has this, it's got this. And it's a sign of a good storytelling, and this is what I like.
We did. It did. We both enjoyed it. I just really, when I finished it, I just thought, yeah, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. It had everything it needed, and I think sometimes that's all you need, just to disconnect and sit down and watch something that just sort of you can escape into for a while. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed it, and thank you very much for the recommendation.
Yes, definitely, Jim. That was a great recommendation.
That is a great one.
So, since it's almost bonfire night or Guy Fawkes night or Bonnie night, as we say,
remember the 5th of November.
Yeah, as I said, some people call it Guy Fawkes night. Some people call it bonfire night. Some of us call it Bonnie night. It's nothing to do with it being a great night, as in Bonnie. It's Bonnie as in bonfire because we're lazy. We can't even finish a word.
I quite like that.
I never met a lazy Scotsman. I haven't met all of them, but the ones I met, not lazy.
The thing is, because it's Bonnie night, V for Vendetta.
Yes.
So for Saturday, V for Vendetta we're going to be doing. So
we found that one on Prime too. So
yeah, ideal.
I watched it last night.
I've not watched it. I'm watching it tomorrow. I've got Thursday night free. So I can watch it a couple of times on Thursday and a couple of times on Saturday. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll watch George and
national audience. I will give this slight caution. It's got a little bit of a heavy British tone to it because of the actors, because of where it takes place. But essentially, it's an amazing comic book action version of 1984.
Interesting.
There's nothing wrong with a good old-fashioned British movie.
Oh, I've just
and I will give this. If you haven't seen it, Wendell J, I'm sorry for keeping you on. I know you need to rush. Don't peek at who is acting in it. Try to figure out who is the voice behind the mask.
Oh, will do. Yeah, we will avoid that. Nice hat, PJ.
I saw it, man. Thank you very much.
That suits you.
It hides my baldy bit. See, I was going to actually do that, I think me. So Who's this? This was who I was going to dress up as for.
So I'm definitely getting a bit of Malcolm McDowell.
Right. Yes. You need the
up,
mascara on the one eye though for that.
I was going to dress up as somebody for Halloween. Who was I dressing up as?
When this is for you.
Really? Oh my goodness. Maybe because I'm tired. I'm not.
See if I had
a
big white badge with yellow badge on it, a big circular badge.
My head is gone today, I think.
Maybe if my glasses had a wee white bit there.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Gary. Yes.
Gary from there, Roddy. I was going to do Gary.
Yes, you need the black glasses with the white tape in the middle. Yeah.
I've got the black glasses. It's just that these are my blue ones.
Yes,
these are my reading glasses. They were actually at hand. My driving glasses are my black glasses. But
you need to do that sometime. Yeah,
I'm seeing so much now, but it was like he manages somehow to have his glasses and never get the reflections from his backlight.
Yeah, that's because my black light is there.
That is very impressive.
I can tip my black light up and my light up, and I would only get the reflection from the actual screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see it. That angle is a lot more.
That's not bad.
But you do need his. Well, he's in ginger, but he's got a yellowish beard.
But see, the thing is, it's all to do with where the white screen is, because the white screen's up there. It's a bit easier for me to get the reflection away. But if I move my screen so I'm actually looking at it, then you get the reflection.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you can see it. That was a nice way to.
If I got the amount of food to like bulk up a bit, I'd love to cosplay as cats.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But ladies and gents, what we'll do is we'll finish off there with Wing Commander was a fantastic recommendation. I'm looking forward to it. Remember and like, share and subscribe. I need to keep telling people that because I keep getting told I should. However, thank you all for joining us. And
subscribe to the channel.
Thank you. And V for Vendetta Saturday. We'll see you all then. But remember, I'm not old. I'm classic. PJ Maybe and the gang.